Hello, everyone. It's Gahul, back at you again with another mildly angry movie review. This week, I'm reviewing Argyle, which is now available on streaming platforms. I wanted to see this movie in the theater, but it got really bad reviews, so I didn't. Um, I'm gonna keep this review fairly short and sweet. One of my favorite movies is Stranger Than Fiction, which is weird because I don't like Will Ferrell, but I really love Stranger Than Fiction, where it's this guy and he can start hearing this narration in his head, and it turns out he's become the character of this famous author's work. Um, and Argyle is basically a spy action thriller version of that. But instead of having like mystical powers, I don't. I guess I'll just reveal the twist. The twist in the movie, you think that Bryce Dallas Howard's character, who is named Ellie Conway, which is weird, um, weird choice of name. I don't know why I had to bring that up, but there's an Ellie Conway, and it turns out she thinks she is writing the events of this guy's life, who's played by that one guy with the face. Oh, and you think, oh, well, he must be the real Argyle that she's been writing about. Um, but it turns out the twist of the movie is that no, this dude, this weird looking dude, is not Agent Argyle. She has been Agent Argyle. It was her. It was her suppressed memories, and she was been brainwashed by Bryan Cranston and this other lady into believing she was like their daughter. Oh, the twist just is a bit. There's like 10 twists at the end of this movie that kind of dilute the plots from what should be a decently fun spy thriller. This movie suffers from the same thing Dune 2 does and most modern movies do, in having a terrible soundtrack kind of drag it down. It's got a very generic like farty trumpet like like shitty. It's the same music choice style of the Avengers, if that makes sense, where it's like the or some whatever the fuck. Not good. Kind of drags the action scenes are fairly well shot. They're a bit CGI heavy and they're a bit goofy looking, but they should be kind of like bombastic and fun. But the music choices overall in this movie are quite poor, I would say, and they don't have a lot of good adrenaline and fun pumping, and they don't have a coherent like. It starts off with kind of this '70s like like funk theme song. And there's that kind of, I guess, is the theme of it because it's kind of very '60s and '70s inspired. But the overall tone of the film is the musical tone kind of ranges to more modern sounding music. There's not like modern songs in it, but like, the main like orchestral score is more modern. And I guess I would have preferred if it was more, funky or like, more James Bondy, if that makes sense. Maybe you have it more like like has some cool like songs going on with some like cool like beats and melodies and stuff. Have them a little bit more instead of like it's very like it's very like dramatic and like trying to be like, oh, it's so epic, but it's not really an epic movie. It's kind of just a cool. The tone's all wrong. I think in general the tone for this movie is kind of all over the place. It's not quite right. It should be a bit more tongue in cheek. It should be a bit more, you should be going for a bit more twisty. You should just have a little bit more of a pizzazz flair to it, which is weird because this is from Matthew Vaughn, who directed the Kingsman movies. I have a love hate relationship with the Kingsman movies. There are some parts that I like and some parts I despise. I think the first Kingsman movie is okay. The second one's terrible. The Kingsman is maybe a bit too much. I don't know if I like it. Uh, and this Argyle movie is apparently in the Kingsman. Another twist at the end is that it takes place in like the Kingsman. It's like a Kingsman set. They think the bar is there. Um, a lot of people complained in the movie that the trailer just showed Henry Cavill and like Dua Lipa and John Cena, which is like the fantasy like fake version of the story. And that is technically false advertising, so I get why they're mad about it. Um, but I actually think the story is fine. The only main problem with the main like real actors, I thought the other guy, I think it was kind of cool that when you see the real spy, he's kind of like a dirty looking hobo who like supposed to blend in with the crowd, and it's like, yeah, okay, that's kind of cool. There, it's a little bit different. Um, but the thing is, Bryce Dallas Howard being the goofy plays the goofy like kind of scared writer who's like kind of a bit schlubby and like kind of like scared and she's out of her element. She plays that really well. She's also supposed to play a serious hard-boiled spy. She does not play that so well. It's sort of like it reminded me of True Lies, um, and what's her face in that? Uh, the person who was on the Gerard the Completionist stream or whatever. Um, I don't remember. So the wife in True Lies, who's I forget the actress's name. My brain's all of a fog right now. But the wife in True Lies, um, she plays her role very well, where she like has to like act scared and be like the scared housewife who's like kind of going out for a thrill thing. But then when it comes time to be like a real like badass action like spy, like a hard boiled spy thing, she doesn't have to be fully badass. She plays that also super well too, right? It's not just one like she does both, and she can transition for both believably. Bryce Dallas Howard, acting wise, transitions to the uh, as an actress, she's pretty quality, and she transitions to the hardcore, hard boiled spy pretty well. But the thing is, they put her in this dress, and Dua Lipa wears the dress in the trailer, um, and in like the opening scene, and it fits her body type quite well. She's got a very slim body. Bryce Dallas Howard, I don't think is an unattractive woman, but this is the most unattractive looking Bryce Dallas Howard you will ever see in a million fucking years. Right? There are people on my board who really thirst and simp after Bryce Dallas Howard because she's kind of chunky, and putting her in this dress specifically makes her look so bad. The makeup they put her in makes her look so old. The they dye her, they put her in this weird blonde like crew cut thing. She looks so old and like fat and ugly in it, and it's just distracting. It's distractingly bad. And then there's times when she puts on like combat boots and like kind of like a tactical vest, and she looks better, right, in those. And it's like, you know I get it. It was like the decision to kind of go whimsical, right? And like the one guy was is dressed up like in like the weird Henry Cavill like green suit thing. But frankly, like she doesn't look the part. She doesn't look the part, and it is a shame. And for the most part, she doesn't really act the part too. And also seeing her do all these like crazy action scenes and CGI and stuff, it just gets too much. And um, I will say though, this movie is much better than the second King. This is the best movie since the first Kingsman that Matthew Vaughn has done. That's my opinion. I think people are really shitting on it and like saying this movie is terrible, like it's got terrible reviews or whatever. It's not that bad. It's actually quite good. I think the first like half I really liked. It was really fun. It's just when it gets to the ending twist, it becomes too twisty and there's too many things going back and forth, and it gets a bit too out of control. But for the most part, it's a quite quality, solid spy movie. It's not bad. And it's original, and it's kind of a unique take on the spy. I mean, it's an idea of a concept of a movie. It's great. I love the concept for this movie. It's great. I when I heard the concept, I was like, "Oh, that sounds awesome!" Because I love, again, I like Stranger Than Fiction. It's one of my favorite movies when I was a kid growing up. I don't know if it's still one of my favorite movies, but when I was a kid, I really liked it. I thought this is really cool. I just like that concept, and then turning that into an action spy thriller where like she solves the mysteries of the clues that lead her to like the hacker location or whatever, because she like is like figuring out the rest of the novel in her head. It's a good setup and it's fun, and the twist at the end kind of makes sense. It makes it less fantastical, makes it more grounded. That well, she just has her memories repressed, but there's too much like fast leave the highbrow sci-fi spy thriller stuff to the Fast and Furious franchise, fellas. Go a bit more grounded. It would have been better if it was a bit more grounded, a bit less weird with like the ending and like the ending set piece stuff with it being like this oil tankers thing. Um, there's too many like guys in front of computer screens. You know, this movie is like in like costume design and in some music choice design. It's supposed to be like a throwback to like the spy films of the '60s, right? To like the '60s James Bond movies, but it doesn't commit to that. You know, go full throwback. Have like a cool, fun, funky score. Have a uh, I think the action is fine, but have a more grounded plot with like, I mean, I guess the '60s James Bonds don't have grounded plots, but like have it be less like hackery, sci-fi, techy, and have it be more, because every spy movie now needs to be like about some fucking hacker, and there's too much of that shit. Make it more, more fun. The ending, very end twist where Henry Cavill shows up in a mullet and has like a southern country accent. Good twist, actually. That was funny. Well, I don't want this review to get too long in the tooth, but I'll just say this. Argyle, not as bad as the critics are saying it is, but it's still not great. I appreciate Matthew Vaughn trying to do something original, and I was appreciate it more before it turns out it's in the Kingsman universe or whatever, which is just fucking stupid. It should just be its own movie. Just make original movies. It's not that hard, I mean, you had an original movie. You didn't have to tie it into anything else. But will we get an Argyle sequel? Probably not. This is probably. I don't think this movie did very well, but it's a standalone little flick. Not bad. Not too bad at all. It's kind of a love story. It's kind of a, it does make me want to see Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill keeps getting like teased as being like cool things, right? I'm not sure if you know this. The only time he's been something cool is when they let him play Superman. They let him play Superman, and then they tease him like, oh, in this movie, we're gonna tease that he's. Oh, I gotta sneeze. We're gonna tease that he's playing a James Bond type character, or in Enola Holmes, we're gonna tease he's playing Sherlock Holmes, and it's like, yeah, I'd like to see that. He's good. He would be a really quality, excellent leading action star in like a spy thriller series. Give him James. He'd be good James Bond. He'd be a good James Bond. He would have been a good Reacher. Something like that. Like, again, like one of the Tom Clancy spin-off series. Build something around him like that. But he's too busy going to make Warhammer movies now. Which honestly, let him do it. They're gonna cast him as the God Emperor. If I was him and I had the chance to be the God Emperor of mankind, I would do it. Unless they'll make him like Horus or some bullshit. Who fucking knows what they'll make him? But again, I think there's a lot of nerd cred that he has, and also he has star power. People probably went to see this movie to go see him. He's like on the guy on all the posters, but he's like not really. He's in the movie more than people make it out to be, but he's not really a character in the movie. More so, he's like a fantasy thing, right? And it's like maybe we can just have that fantasy. Can't we just have a cool fantasy movie where John Cena and Henry Cavill team up as a spy action duo to take down bad guys? That sounds fun. But, that I'm stupid. I like goy slop. I like it when goy slop gets subbed in my mouth. I like goy slop. I like goy slop going down my mouth. I like when I watch the movie and it's got the big muscle guys and then kick the bad guy butt. I like Matthew Vaughn because he killed all those people in the church in the Kingsman movie that was so epic and based. Epic bigots BTFO'd. Just fucking snotted all over that sentence. I don't actually think that. That was a really, in hindsight, that's fucking so stupid. It was so, like, of its time, Redditor atheist moment. Everyone's like, oh, it's so epic. And it's like, nah, bro. Nah. Those people were right. Um. Anyways, what's next is I don't know what's next to review. I've been told to review many movies like Brazil, old movies. I will only be reviewing new Goy Slop. I'm reviewing newly released films like Goy Slop in the theaters. Give me more suggestions of TV shows and movies to review. Maybe I will review them next. We'll find out. See ya. Oh!